That's funny, the red eye. Dean and Tony.
I always have red eye for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh no, it's the fifth focus.
Zoom in mode, like it wasn't. It's not.
Okay. Okay.
I'll get you to do a clap just in front of your face.
Right now?
Yeah. One more. Name, age, where are you from, and religious beliefs. You don't have to put that.
I will.
Okay.
My name is Tony Simon, aka Blockhead. I'm from New York City, New York, USA. I am 39 years old at the moment, and I am a agnostic / atheist / I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff.
How did you start as a musician?
I started first rapping before I did anything. Probably when I was in my early teens, I started writing raps. When I turned about 18, I got a sampler, and I realized that I was way better off as a producer than as a rapper. So I kind of tapered down the rapping over the next like 5 or 6 years, and then focused heavily on beats.
How would you describe the music that you create?
When people ask me what I call it, I basically just call it instrumental hip hop. I think it's in reality it's more than that, because while it is like a sample based hip hop music, typical instrumental hip hop is not as intricate or as song. It's not really it's not in song form. It's just like a loop, maybe one change up, some scratching. Whereas my songs actually kind of go all sorts of directions and have many layers. But you know, in its core, it's hip hop and it's instrumental, so it's instrumental hip hop.
What tools do you use to create music?
I use an ASR10 sampler, and I started using that, and I've used it a lot less now. But I use Ableton mostly now. I use a Moog keyboard, but mostly just Ableton, and I sample other people's music and make music out of that.
Okay. Your dad was a well-known artist. For people who do not know, you know, blah blah blah. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your dad and the relationship with your dad. I know that you said you didn't know him well, but did it? The question I was trying to say the other night. Does it ever come into when you were making music or anything? Like, did you ever think, even just about family members in general, did it ever influence you in any?
Should I do the dad part though?
You do the dad part. Yeah.
I remember you saying once that Cave Light was you mourning the
yeah, kind of. Yeah, definitely. Well, my dad was a painter and a sculptor. He was a career artist. He was a painter in World War II. He has done fountains in different places. He's done sculptures. He did all sorts of stuff. And yeah. And what else? What are the other questions?
Probably say his name too.
Oh, Sidney Simon. His name is Sidney Simon.
Cut without me talking, yeah.
Yeah. His name is Sidney Simon. He passed away in '97, and he was 80 at that point because he was 60 when I was born. And so yeah, he was an artist, and I pretty much grew up around that in the artistic world, not in the fine art world, not the musical art world. But it was, same thing really, same pitfalls, and I don't remember the rest of the questions.
Just with the relationship that you had with him.
Oh, okay.
Did it inspire you with any of the music?
My relationship with him was kind of distant because he was 75% deaf for the majority of my life. So really, it was more of an admiration thing than it was like a close father thing. He would just go to work. He'd just go downstairs, work on art all day, come upstairs, and then hang out. But the fact of the matter is, like, you know, he was way older. He was deaf, so it was really more of an example than he was a figure of authority or a figure of you know, anything like that. But it, like, by seeing what he did, it kind of made me feel that art, any kind of art, was a plausible outcome for your career. Whereas I think, like, as a grown up now, I can look back on that and be like, well, that's not really a realistic way to think. But I'm glad I thought that, because otherwise I might be, you know, working in an office or something.
Because that cliched thing where it's people like your parents are like, you'll never be an artist. And
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, like I never had. There's never like a don't do art. It was like do art. Like there's never like a you got to be a lawyer. You got to do that. There's none of that in my life. What are the other parts of the question? You remember?
Did you? Yeah, I should there in front of me.
You can edit this all together.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. But the. Yeah.
Oh, the influence of my family and stuff. I don't really. Influence is a weird thing. Like, I don't really feel direct influence. Like, I never sit down and be like, well, this is about my dad. You know, like, but I will say on Music by Cave Light, that album was, it was like, you know, I released it 7 years after my dad died, but it was definitely the first, a lot of music made from that point to the point of where I released it, where it definitely had, it was affected by that. It was definitely thinking about that, like Sunday Seance, A Better Place. In the beginning of Better Place, that's him talking to my brother when he was a baby. So it was on my mind in that album. But as far as like actual, like, oh, I think about my brothers and sisters when I make this song, like that doesn't happen. But I don't really think about anything. I just sit down and do it, and then it comes out.
Hey, what with your creative process? So you just knock up beats. Some of them are destined for rap tunes or whatever. When do you decide that this is going to be an album or these beats are related? And
the way I do stuff nowadays, it's changed over the years. But the way I do stuff is like I make when I just make beats. I just keep making beats. I make a lot of beats. I just try to be prolific over a period of time, and then when it's time to make an album, I sit and I go through these beats and be like, well, what can work in the form of an instrumental album? And once so I pick like maybe 25 to 30 of those beats, and then group them together of what ones might work together, and then those become songs. So like a lot of my songs in the last 3 albums are really the compilation of 3 beats, 3 separate beats that were made at different times, just kind of put together into one like meandering story, as opposed to like a one beat that has a couple changes and then keeps coming back to the same thing. But yeah, I never sit down and be like, well, I'm going to make an instrumental record beat now, and I'm going to make a rap beat now. I just kind of sit down, make the beat, and then after the fact, it's like, well, that sounds like this, or that sounds like this.
when does the name and the concept come together for you? Is that at the end, or do you go, I'm going to call this album this and find beats that match that?
Just wait a couple of seconds after he finishes.
Naming is the last part of it. I don't have a concept. I don't really sit down with concepts as far as whole albums. I mean, like, my albums, if they're cohesive, it's because they're made in a certain period of time, and that's, you know, it's kind of like me transforming over that period of time. I think, like, you know, as much as my albums do kind of have similarities, they are all different as far as the feel of them, and they've kind of been slowly evolving in this kind of direction. But the names, I kind of sit back when I'm done with the first version of the songs, like when I'm done with this preliminary version of the song, I'll sit back and be like, all right, what does this sound like? Or if there's something I had in mind, like an inside joke, they're usually inside jokes. They're usually like, it's never that serious. I usually just kind of, or just a name of something, like the album, my new album is going to be called Funeral Balloons. And that's something that I thought of months ago. I just thought that was a funny phrase. And I was like, oh, and I knew I was going to name a song that, but when it was time to name the album, I was like, oh, Funeral Balloons, kind of weird. And so yeah, it's totally arbitrary though. It's not really. There's never any basis on why anything's named anything. You know?
I remember reading an interview with Premier once, and I was saying for the Gangstar albums, they'd have the name and then work off that. It was all.
Oh, like it'd be like Daily Operation, and then yeah. That's. I think it's different with rapping though. You know, I feel like rapping. With rappers, you can work off a word. Yeah. Whereas like with what I do, it's more all over the place. You know?
You sort of answered my next question about how much time do you go into making music, and how much time would you put into each album?
Let me think. The way I put together albums is such a stretched out thing because I make the beats first, and then I go back to them, and then I compile them, and then I tear them apart and put them back together, and then I sequence them. So it could be like really me. My process of a new album pretty much starts the second I start making new beats after the newest album's finished, and that could be 2 years. But it's not like I'm working hard 2 years in a row. I'm slowly compiling and building a artillery of things I can go to. So yeah, it's not really there's I can't really count it. Like this last album I've made the last couple of years, but when it came time to actually sequence stuff and put it together, like the actual song composition part was quick. Like I got through maybe 16, 17 songs very early, rough drafts in probably like 3 weeks. I was just doing one a day and then fine tuning it a little bit. But so yeah, it just depends how prolific I feel,
With your workflow, what's the largest? Because you do a lot of layering and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most number of tracks you've had in a single song in Ableton?
Oh man, I don't even know. I mean, many. I mean, I'd say like probably had like 50 something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So just
maybe
individual noises and.
Yeah, like 50 little sounds. Like one could be a snare, but one could be a flute. One could be a variation of that flute. But 50. Yeah, probably. I'd say like Oops. I'd say that like a song like Daily Routine had a lot of layers to it, and anything off the last album. The more I do it, the more complicated and layered things get.
That's still recording?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Next question is, when you're not working on music, what do you get up to, and what's your daily time schedule like, I guess?
My daily life is pretty loose when I'm not working on music. The thing is, I'm always working on music in a very relaxed way. It's rare a week goes by when I don't, but there's many days go by when I will not even think about it. So I'll get up, fuck around on the internet for an hour or two, and then go eat, come home, do whatever, watch TV, go meet up with friends, go play basketball. Play a lot of basketball when I'm able to, when my body holds up for it. I hang out with friends, and it's pretty. I go out every now and then. I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm not really a party animal anymore. But I just kind of live a very leisurely life.
How do you find touring these days? As you said, you're getting older. What are the things that you love about it?
Mm-hmm.
But what are the least things that you enjoy about it?
Touring is like a necessary evil. It's not totally evil. Like I like doing shows. I like getting to travel and see places I would otherwise not see. I don't like traveling. It's not like I'm scared of flying. I just don't like being in airports. I don't like waiting. I don't like being trapped in a thing for 5 hours and just looking at whatever the fuck I'm looking at for those 5 hours. I don't like. There's a lot of just downtime. It's kind of boring. It's kind of lonely. But you kind of have to do it, and like it's now that records don't sell, it's kind of, that's how we make our living as musicians. But that said, I don't dislike it. I I do it because I'm able to, like I'm lucky to have that opportunity, and it's way better than ever being at a desk working at a job, and I get to go home eventually and then I hang out, so it's all right.
If you weren't making music, what sort of, where did you study, and what was your, the backup plan?
There was never any backup plan. There was no forefront plan. I would just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I didn't really do music professionally as my only job until I was like 27. I was a working job until I was 27, and I was a college dropout. I had no major. I was working in a bakery. I worked only shitty jobs. I imagine if I didn't do music, I'd probably be a struggling writer, or a writer of some sort, maybe a screenplay writer, doing something in the realm of writing. But I'd probably be a bartender, I imagine, if this didn't work out. And that's because I never had the desire to learn. I hated school. I don't care. I would just zone out and just kind of look off in the trees for the whole day. So I know I wouldn't be going back to school to learn anything. So yeah, I'd probably have a pretty shitty life if it weren't for music.
That was good. I just randomly put that. I was just thinking about what does Cage do for a job, you know? And then
I think he makes music.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I just try to picture what he'd do. You know how?
Oh, if he didn't?
Yeah.
I feel like most musicians would be it would be doing shitty things. Like most rappers and like from my era and most producers, like not many of them are college graduates. Not many of them are just designed to work in the workforce. You know, we'd be a lot of bartenders, a lot of bartenders.
So growing up in New York City, you've been immersed in hip hop basically since you were born. What was the point where you were like, I love hip hop? I guess you would have. Most people, like Australians, for example, it's like, oh, well, I saw the movie Beat Street in 1984, and but you were immersed in it from the get go. Yeah.
Beat Street was a thing. I can't say that Beat Street was the first thing that. Okay, Beat Street was the first thing that I ever recall being like, oh, that's hip hop. Not even hip hop. Like I like what that is. I was 7 or 6 when that came out, and my mom took me to it, which is crazy because my mom was like, what the fuck is this? And I had the soundtrack on cassette that I bought at a flea market a couple years later, and I was obsessed with the Christmas rap. But even that, I don't think I had like that definitive taste. I was also listening to like Eye of the Tiger and like Greatest American Hero theme song. It wasn't like this thing like, I was like, I love hip hop. But I would say 7th or 8th grade, so I was probably 10 or 11 when I really got obsessed with it. Maybe, no, okay, 11 or 12, where I just like on my binder at school, I was just writing all the rap names. I would fucking watch Yo MTV Raps. I'd watch Video Music Box, which is a famous kind of more underground video show in New York, and just everything. I'd go out, buy tapes and I forget what, I don't remember. I would say honestly that what got me into it was probably dirty rap. Like as a kid, like 2 Live Crew was the first, as when you're like an adolescent and you're, going through puberty and you're jerking off 15 times a day, you just like dirty things, and that spoke to me, and then none of that, and like rock never did that to me. I never went through a phase of like, oh, I love classic rock, I love Led Zeppelin, I love Pink Floyd. Like I never went through that. I was always like, from not really caring about music to being like, I love this shit, and that's it, and that's all I listened to for until my 20s. Some things would slip in here and there, but there was never I was very much focused on that.
Would connecting with Aesop have been the thing that kicked you onto the next level, do you think? Or?
Me and Aesop meeting, that is probably the defining point of my career, because without him I wouldn't be here, because I'd probably still be rapping. And I met Aesop at Boston University, my college that I went to for 1 year, and we kind of connected on being these nerdy hip hop guys, obsessive hip hop guys, and he rapped for me. And I was like, oh my god! And I wasn't making beats at that point. Oh no, maybe I did. I feel like I may have gotten a sampler at that point, but he, I just met him and we would rap together, and then he was making beats, I was making beats, and he moved to New York eventually. But his success was what kind of gave me any sort of shine. So without him, who knows what would have happened.
He just released a thing this morning, I see.
Oh yeah, the Lice.
But who's it through?
It's a Rhymesayers.
Okay.
But it's free. It's free.
Yeah, no, I see him and some other guy. Yeah, I noticed that first thing this
Homeboy
morning.
Sandman.
Yeah.
It's really their first one was really good.
Yeah, cool. This being your second trip to Australia, how are you finding the Australian culture?
I like the Australian culture. I think it's pretty chill. I think it's very similar to American culture, but with little things that are just, it's like being in the bizarro world of America. I feel the same way when I'm in parts of Europe too, honestly, but just words are different. Everything that I feel like I take for granted things that are so obvious. Like I've been asking people for Advil here, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Ibuprofen," and then you have a different thing here. You know, it's like everything's a little different. It's like "Oh, is that a table?" Like, no, that's a topper. Or like, you know, that's not a real thing, but I'm saying it's like little things like that where you kind of you just don't really know what's the right word to say sometimes. But you guys understand everything I say, so I might not understand everything you guys say.
Yeah.
Because you grow up with American culture around down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How are you finding the Aussie slang then?
I think the Aussie slang is adorable. I think it all ends in like O and I, and it's like it's a snooky and a dicky and a doco, and I look at everything is it's just cute. Like I don't know, like you guys make everything sound cute. Like be like it's like a murdero, like a rapio. It doesn't matter.
Okay, we'll do the finish. Is there anyone you'd like to thank for bringing you out here?
I'd like to thank.
Actually, wait for
I'd like to thank everyone who's taken care of me out here, which has been this whole Brisbane family. Jing Kong, whose house I'm in right now. Ben Ahern, Corey out in Melbourne. Who else? There's a bunch of people. Jem out in Canberra. And Sid out in Cairns. And I'll say that right one day. And yeah, just everyone's been super hospitable and kind of like I'm like a newborn baby out here, and they've been carrying me around swaddled.
Okay, that's good. Now it's time to ask you some dog shit questions.
All right.
Who are you probably out of your? What are your top 3 favorite sexual positions?
Top 3 favorite. I like variations of being on top the most. I know it's boring, but I think there's the most control in that. I like when a girl lies flat on her stomach with her legs together. And I like what's the third one? I mean, doggy's okay. Sometimes the thing about doggy style is like it hurts my knees sometimes. So like it's limited in what it can do. But yeah, girl on top can be cool too if it's not too grindy and painful. You know, they're all fun, whatever, sex, you know.
What do you prefer, bareback or do you top up?
What? Is that top up as a condom? I mean, clearly bareback is the preferred way. I mean, listen, we live in dangerous times, but if I have the choice and it's safe, in a perfect world, it'd be bareback all day long, you know?
Do you want to add any, Jim? Come on, you've got something.
What is it called? Top up?
No, top. Oh, just...
Tarp
I remember
up?
hearing it when I was
Like a
young.
tarpaulin, I've never heard it myself.
Yeah, I just wanted some old bogue, like some... That's a tarp there, what Renee's
Oh, yeah,
got
oh,
there.
yeah.
And when I lived at where I lived was near the airport, and I'd lived behind a race course.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's, how I'm talking, and jokingly, that times 1,000. You know, when you go down the local pub, make sure you fucking tap up and pick up. And I was just like, what are you talking about?
That's not a shared Australia. That's not Australia everybody lives in.
Yeah.
Tap up.
I'm more interested in the production. So do you have drum sounds that you always fall back on, or do you try to layer up new stuff every time, or that favourite snare, Tony's secret snare stuff? I've gone through many different incarnations of drums that I use, but I tend to have, you know, I have a library and I kind of pick what's right. But snares are one thing, hi-hats are one thing, because you can have a wide variety, but good kicks are the hardest thing to find. So I tend to use the same like 15 kicks for every beat. Like it's rare I use a brand new kick out of nowhere where I have these kicks that I like. It's like a good 808, a good thumpy low just normal bass kick. Those I kind of stick. Those are the ones I kind of stay true to. But the snares is always you can do a lot with snares. But kicks, if I want that low end, I got to go to these certain snares. motherfucking 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Ask a couple if you want. Go nuts. I'm
I'm just trying to think. And what's the most extent you've gone to hide a sample?
Is this where you're dubbing yourself? Mention the sample.
No, yeah.
I'm joking.
I don't think... I've never gone to an extent just to be like, I gotta hide this sample. But, I mean, you know, I've chopped stuff up, I put it in reverse, I put effects on it. The most famous thing I could think of is the vocal sample on Insomniac Olympics, which is the thing, or that high-pitched squealing sound that people are like, what is she saying? What is she saying? And I don't know what she's saying because I did it on purpose, because whatever she was saying made no sense. So I pitched it up, put an electric guitar effect on it, and fuzzed it out so you couldn't understand what she's saying. And but I wasn't hiding that to hide it because it's a famous sample. I hid it because I didn't want the words to become part of the song. I wanted that the singing, the vocal timbre or whatever to be the main part of the song.
And so with Triptych on Cave Light, so you've like the same vocal sample at 3 different pitches. Like,
Oh yeah.
What game did you do that?
I was just playing around. I mean, that beat was made.
It's one of my favourites.
I made Triptych. I made the original. That part of Triptych I made in 1997.
Wow.
And I basically, it was, you know, a Dinah Washington song, and I kind of was playing around, and my sampler had a keyboard, and I found the key that worked, and I was like, huh, yeah, and they all kind of worked, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if I could just kind of make a round of some sort with these, and it just kind of worked out like that. When you have a keyboard sampler, it definitely opens up a lot of capabilities, or a lot of like ideas that you would not have otherwise with layering samples, because you can do like, you know, you can do harmonies within the samples as long as the timing of the sample doesn't.
That's ASR 10 business.
Yeah, the ASR 10.
Have you ever felt like Ferris Bueller with the voices?
With the vomit? No. I couldn't. I never recorded my voice into my ASR 10, but I could have.
Did you ever ask your parents for a car but get a computer?
No, definitely not. I wish. Well, I would never ask for a car in any situation.
Yeah. Tell us a couple of things about yourself that probably wouldn't know how you told me in the car how you don't have your fucking driver's license and you're almost 50.
I'm almost 50. Well, that's what no one knows. I'm almost 50. No, I am a born and bred New Yorker. I've never driven a car in my life. I don't have a license. I don't plan on ever getting a license until I absolutely have to, but I probably won't, because by then I'll be dead. Who cares? What else? That's a big one. I brag about that though. I'm like, I wear it as a badge, and people are like, that's so stupid, you're gonna need it for when like the zombies attack. I'm like, if the zombies attack, I'm gonna die anyway. I don't want to live in a world where zombies are living.
Time to watch The Walking Dead, or the highways are strewn with cars.
Yeah. I mean, listen, worst come to worst, I bet I could figure it out. Turn the key, hit the gas. All right, there we go. Take it out of park.
So we can expect The Art of Driving coming.
Yeah. The Art of Backseat Driving.
The other one you mentioned was you've got. When's your new album coming out? But you also mentioned how you had that free album.
Okay.
Yeah, just word it how you want.
Yeah. So I have my new album is still in the works, and it's called Funeral Balloons. It's almost done. I'm touring a lot this fall, so it's going to be kind of a slower process than if I was home the whole time. But before I put that out, I'm putting out a free album that's going to be have vocals and have and instrumental tracks as well. So it'll be a nice mixture of stuff, just to, just kind of whet the appetite of the people out there. And I know people like free shit, so you can never have enough of that. And people will probably, illegally download the album anyway, the real album after. So 2 free things.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much done.
You good?
Yeah, no, that googing helped, and just you mixed it up a lot. And as we were just saying, not having other people here fucking